Hello, and thank you for joining me on this journey we're about to take to learn about General Douglas MacArthur and how he was a turning point in history for the Korean War. Today you will be learning about a man with true patriotism and courage for his country. Before General MacArthur had even begun leading, let alone participating in the Korean War, he was a part of the Philippine Army. He became a part of the Philippine Army after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor had occurred. His participation in both U.S. and Philippine armies were factors in which why he was such a controversial leader, being that he was involved in both military forces, but also being a factor that President Harry Truman chose him as general for his experience with the Asian Army and how they function. General Douglas MacArthur was born January 26, 1880, and was involved in the Korean War from age 41 through 42 and from years 1950 through 1951. Due to his insubordination, he was only involved for 1 year before being fired by President Harry Truman. General MacArthur was appointed general and commander at the beginning of the Korean War in South Korea. General MacArthur gained respect and opportunities by pushing North Korean forces back over the 38th parallel, which was the boundary divider for northern and southern Korea. After General MacArthur pushed the forces back, his opportunities began, and President Truman gave General MacArthur permission to go into northern Korea and continue all the way to the Yellow River, even though he was extremely warned about provoking Chinese interventions. The Yellow River is the border between northern Korea and communist China. After being warned heavily not to take that step, and continuing with it anyway, China intervened. China's intervention was a huge step backwards for General Douglas MacArthur and his soldiers, causing their military force to fall back to southern Korea. After falling back, General Douglas MacArthur asked for permission to bomb Chinese bases and was persistent with his plea. After trying to convince President Truman, Truman would still not budge, and both started to anger one another. After making a huge public dispute, President Truman dismissed General Douglas MacArthur as commanding general, and on April 11, 1951, President Harry Truman publicly announced his dismissal and replacement of General Douglas MacArthur, being a huge turning point in history, not only for Asia but for the United States of America as well. General MacArthur in the Korean War was a huge turning point in history for both Asia and the United States. It is considered to be a turning point in history because throughout all of General Douglas MacArthur's begging and consistently asking for permission to bomb Chinese bases, President Truman stuck to his ground and remained faithful to what he believed because he did not want a World War III to uproar. And nowadays, it is believed that if he would have been convinced by MacArthur, it is a possibility that World War III might have occurred and would have been a huge turning point in history for the United States of America. And if World War III would have occurred and the United States, as we see it today, could be, and most likely would be, completely different. Even though President Truman took General MacArthur off the battlegrounds, on his return he was greeted openly with wide open arms to his native country and greeted as a hero. Upon his arrival, Douglas MacArthur was invited to join a joint session of Congress. A year after his arrival back to the United States of America, General Douglas MacArthur attempted to run for office as President of the United States, but failed to do so, which would also be a big turning point in history, in the United States history, if he would have succeeded, because the future of the United States would be different, and with his attempt as general to bomb China, with full power as president, no one would be able to withhold him.
Pregunta.
How did the war affect you?
Well, actually, I was not at war.
But like
It
just
affected me knowing that I was going to war. It did affect me because, in the first place, I believe in thou should not kill, and that we were trained to kill people. See, we were trained to go get people. So I was thinking if they're gonna send me to Korea, and I'm gonna go be killing people or get killed myself. But if I didn't get killed and I killed someone, I'd be answering to the Lord for what I done, because it was me the one that went and killed the people by ordered them me to go to do that. So I was afraid all the time until the time I knew that I was not going. Then I rejoiced and thank God that I didn't took part in that.
let's take a minute to go back and clarify all the events that made General Douglas MacArthur and the Korean War a turning point in history. At the beginning of the Korean War, roughly between April and June, Douglas MacArthur was chosen by President Harry Truman to be a commanding general. Around August through September, President Truman and General Douglas MacArthur met up to try to push into northern Korea to completely defeat the communist forces. During October in the year 1950, General Douglas MacArthur met with President Harry Truman to assure him that the chances of a Chinese intervention were very small and were not likely to happen. Throughout November and December in the year 1950, Chinese troops invaded northern Korea, forcing the U.S. troops to fall back into South Korea. In December 1950, General Douglas MacArthur asked President Harry Truman for permission to bomb Communist China. During April in the year 1951, President Harry Truman dismissed General Douglas MacArthur as commanding general. The reason being for President Harry Truman to dismiss General Douglas MacArthur was because he was insubordinate. In 1952, General Douglas MacArthur attempted to run for presidency but failed to do so. All these events are factors in which why General Douglas MacArthur in the Korean War was a turning point in history. Not only was he a turning point in history for Asia, but for the United States of America as well. Thank you for watching this episode, and God bless America.
The 38th parallel and beyond. By mid-October, the capital of North Korea had fallen, and MacArthur's army was moving toward the Chinese border. How would the Soviets react? Would they increase aid to North Korea? What about Communist China?